What is going on, pals? Welcome back to another video. For those who don't know, I have not made a video in a long time regarding something involving Call of Duty. Just to kind of preface this video, none of the things that I say do reflect the company that I work for, which is UMG Events. So anything that I say in this video doesn't reflect them. For future videos, I'm going to have to remember to say that. So, what is up, guys? It's been a little bit of time. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Infinite Warfare release, which actually happened yesterday, October 26th. 2016, to give you guys a little bit of a date there, just to make sure for people who are watching this later, they realize what was going on at the time. Yesterday there was a thing, right? We have a release, we have a live stream that's supposed to talk about Infinite Warfare, the eSports side of Infinite Warfare, which I'm personally very excited about. I didn't really know too many details regarding what was going to be happening. Clayster, who is one of the players who competed in one of these exhibition matches, had tweeted out and saying that he was going to be there. He kind of released the teams ahead of time, and players kind of followed on. And it seemed like a really cool idea, you know, right? Why not have a 4v4 exhibition, little matchup to show the CODcaster, to show everyone what Infinite Warfare is going to be about, give a little background to what's going to be happening for this year, just to keep the audience, the people, involved. Of course, they had that back in Black Ops 3 as well, where they had, like, you know, competition from all over the world to compete, to show off the CODcaster, to show off everything, right? Essentially, to show off absolutely everything, which I think is good. I think it's good to show off the new game. It's good to show it off in a competitive aspect, to kind of play the first competitive game, or, you know, the first type of release for it, essentially. And it's good that the Infinity Ward was on board with that, right? At least we can look at it and say, you know what? From 3 years ago, at least we have something going for us. If we look back at Ghost, where we didn't even have the CODcaster, we didn't even have S&D put into the game, essentially it was later. Like, just the fact that, like, we've at least made progress over the last 3 years, to me, is like a little small victory. At least I can kind of take that home with me. So along with Clayster's tweets about who he's going to be playing with, he also talked about how they had made a little bit of a rule set, essentially, for this exhibition, what they were going to be rolling with heading into the Infinite Warfare title, which I'm personally very excited about, because we already have a set of bans that players are already not liking, or are kind of disliking. I'm glad that that was a thing. I'm a little bit skeptical of it, just because it's still very early on in the game. I mean, if you want to take a few weekends of the beta and kind of take home with that and say, this is the stuff that needs to be banned, they can still tweak stuff, right? I mean, the beta essentially is the game, right? The beta is the game. Like, it's not like we're going to be having a beta, graphics, everything completely changes. Of course, they have done that, right? In Black Ops 3, there's been they even changed some things they had regarding with the map and stuff. They've changed weapon balance. They changed the name of a weapon. They did a bunch of crazy stuff. However, nothing that was really that groundbreaking. It's still the same game. Nothing's really going to change. Essentially, it's going to be a few tweaks here and there. Maybe the time to kill gets changed. Maybe they change up the maps a tad, or maybe they change up the combat rigs, or whatever you really want to call them. Those things can happen, right? Those things can happen. However, you do have to realize, when the beta was taking place during Black Ops 3, they had a lot more time than Infinite Warfare does, or Infinity Ward does right now. They have less than 2 weeks. Literally, they have less than 2 weeks, and I didn't notice anything in the exhibition that was changed from the beta. Now, there might have been a few things that were tweaked, might have been a few things that were added. We don't know that, right? They didn't discuss that, but maybe the reason they didn't discuss that is because nothing had changed. So that's what I'm kind of rolling with right now. So the rule set, to me, I like the idea of it. I like the idea that we're already thinking of this stuff to kind of be taken out of the game, because there's a lot of stuff that people already know should not be allowed, regarding things like UAVs, regarding certain traits, maybe even regarding certain payloads as well, but we'll get in that later, maybe a different video. The rule set was not publicized, which I was a little bit disappointed in. I was really hoping that they were going to make that public, at least what they were using for the stream. And I know it might be confidential information regarding, you know, you don't want to release what these competitive settings are, because they could change. But at the same time, it'd be nice to know, like, hey, we're not going to be using this. So I was wondering why they weren't using this particular trait in the match, or why weren't they using this particular rig in the match? Because they'd already decided that that should be banned, right? We don't know that for sure. We don't know what is on that list yet, except if you were there or involved in the process of getting rid of those things prior to the stream starting, being at the studio and stuff like that. So nobody else knows what that rule set was, or what we have in place for right now. So some of the announcements that actually did take place, they did announce a new map called Mayday, which to me is a wall run central. Literally the entire map is kind of wall runs, which I'm personally not a fan of, at least from what I was able to see. There could be different aspects to it. I'm not 100% sure. They announced Call of Duty World League is back. No one knew that, just joking. So they're going to be playing on the PS4. And also a major thing that was kind of announced was the Banner Protects is now gone. Now there's something that kind of took its place, which I'll be talking about here in a second. But the Banner Protects, right? I think the Banner Protects to me was a good idea. It was a good idea. I think everyone coming into this new game was like, wow, we have this thing called the Specialist Draft. We have this thing called the Banner Protect system. that's a really cool idea, right? The fact that we can literally get rid of things, and also helped us out a lot when it came to things that weren't already global banned that we had to ban out for them. High caliber, rapid fire. I mean, I could literally name everything that was banned in Protect throughout most of the game. In reality, though, it became the same thing over and over and over again. We hardly banned anything in global bans. Why? Because we wanted to make sure we had enough stuff for the ban and protect system. So in some ways, my greatest happiness of having this stuff that we can kind of take out, they kind of left so many stuff in that the ban and protect system kind of became so repetitive that there was really nothing unique to the ban and protect. You might see something here, and honestly, I would take it and run with it if I was casting. If something that I didn't see prior was staying in, if high caliber was left in, if rapid fire was left in, that's a good 30-second talking point where you can talk about that prior to a match. It was a really good idea in theory. I think I will stay with that, however, as long as I need to, but and Call of Duty just didn't work. Honestly, it just did not work with how the game was ran, or at least how the game was presented to us. So, Ban Protects, thank you for everything you did. You were decent. You tried your best, but Call of Duty, we just don't mix with one another. We just don't mix. So in place of the Ban and Protect system, they announced a new system, I believe known as Weapon Selection or Weapon Select. Weapon Draft. I just looked it up. Weapon Draft is what it's called. Which essentially, I'm just going to read this off. Each player gets to choose 2 weapons per series that they can use. So this goes to show, this essentially what it means, is that in a game, in a series, you are going to have the opportunity, once you're playing 4v4, to draft 2 weapons. Now, I don't know how this exactly is going to work. I'm not even sure if they were using this in the live stream, which to me is a little bit worrying. So essentially it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, while the other team is also picking theirs at the same time. So there's no banning, there's no protecting anything anymore for those who didn't kind of catch on to that. All you're doing is you are making sure that I am going to use, let's just say this, right? Say I really want the MV4. I'm a really good assault rifle player. I want the MV4. I'm going to draft the MV4. So I'm going to have that for the entire series. I cannot use anything else but the MV4 and the next weapon that I'm going to select, as well as my teammates cannot use the MV4. Can the other team use the MV4? Absolutely. My picks, everything that I'm choosing for my weapons does not affect the other team in any way, except if you're trying to develop metas and stuff like that. Besides that, though, so it's going to make a lot of things really interesting. The first thing that I thought of was snipers, right? Who's going to want to have a sniper if you were going to use it in Search and Destroy? Let's just imagine old TSM with Colchan. They loved having the sniper rifle. They loved having Colchan have that in his back pocket. Well, who are they going to give the guy to get the sniper rifle to? So when it comes down to Search and Destroy time, because everyone knows how great the snipers are in this game, does that mean that one player is going to have to use only one class? He's going to have to use only one weapon? Yes, unless you want to use a sniper rifle in Hardpoint, which I doubt you probably want to do. I mean, hey, they're really good, but I don't know if they're that good yet. We're not like talking ops here from CSGO. We're not talking like that in Call of Duty yet. So first off, I really think this is a unique idea. I would have never come up with this in my entire life, but they are trying to develop what known as a pro mod. For those who don't know what pro mod is, essentially it is a system where you choose every single weapon class. So essentially it's making every player have a role on the team. I think it's cool in theory. I think it's a good idea. I really do. I'm not going to lie. I think that this system is an interesting idea. No one really could have predicted what was going to happen with Ban and Protect. Why? It was so new. Like, we never had anything like this ever before. And it was hard for us to not know that they weren't really going to global ban anything because they wanted to save it for Ban and Protect. The Ban and Protect, like I said, became very repetitive. There was no way for us to know that. And just to make this clear as well, if you are an AR player, maybe you want to rock 2 ARs, or maybe if you're a player who likes to transition a little bit, if we have the same kind of roles that we do in Black Ops 3, which this game has many Black Ops 3 feels, you know, if you are that third or second SMG, third AR type of player, you know, maybe you do draft an SMG or maybe you do draft an AR. I think the whole system behind it is still good. I think there's a lot of little talking points that at least analysts can still kind of focus on, which I think is good. It's like, you know, this guy normally is going to rock the MV4 based on the maps that we're going to be having for this series. Maybe he decides to drop off the MV4 or I'm just saying the MV4. Maybe he decides to drop off the OSA or whatever that other AR is. That's really good. Maybe you decide to drop off another AR for your team because he's more strong on this map. However, you do have to think about the full series. This is not map by map by map. I'm kind of glad that it's not, because everyone knows Ban and Protect Special Draft took forever before every game, especially casting. I mean, it was very hard to come up with unique things to talk about whenever the Ban and Protect would repeat themselves, when everyone would be drafting the same specialist over and over again. I'm very curious to see how it plays out, and I hope that based on how it plays out, that Infinity Ward responds to it in that same fashion, meaning that, hey, it's starting to become kind of stale, there's an issue with it, we need to fix this, or maybe the system just doesn't work. It doesn't work for Call of Duty. Let's take it out. Let's go back to regular, you know, every player gets to use whatever weapon they want. However, I want to bring up one thing, though. And to me, I like the idea of putting players in their own roles. However, I'm not a fan of the fact that we're literally putting in a draft system to draft certain weapons, when in reality, why aren't the weapons themselves tuned? I feel like they're almost catering to the fact that they aren't weapon tuning the weapons correctly, that they're putting in this system to make sure that every weapon is used. So for those who don't know, 8 weapons are going to have to use for either team, right? 8 weapons are going to have to be used, or 4 if you really want to put that out there. But 8 weapons are going to be selected per team, which obviously goes to show that there's going to be a wide variety of different guns that are going to be used. However, if we start to get into the system where they start, changing weapons and making certain weapons better than another, then what if we get to the point where only 4 weapons matter, right? What if there's only 2 SMGs that are really good? What if there's only 2 ARs that are really good? What if this LMG becomes super OP, so everyone's drafting the LMG and only using the LMG? I feel like weapon tuning, to me, is a thing that needs to be integrated, and if it is integrated correctly and is useful, then we don't even need this system. Why? Because that in itself is going to make players use different weapons based on their skill type. It doesn't matter. I don't really care if a player is using 2 M8s and a CUDA and a VMP in Black Ops 3. That's totally fine to me, right? Because that's the best AR for that map. When it comes down to it, an AR player runs an AR. Why? Because that's his role. And if he doesn't use anything but an AR, he has a disadvantage in that particular role. Meaning that if JCap's at the back of the map when they're playing CTF, he can only use an assault rifle. Why? Because he has to hold down a certain lane of a map. The map is designed to where an AR player needs to be in the back, and the only way that SMG can get close or can get to kill him is if he gets close to him. Like, I know I'm rambling, and I apologize for that. I'm just very passionate about this, and I don't want the weapon draft to fail. I think it's a good and interesting idea if the weapon tuning isn't done correctly, but I am afraid that people are going to start to develop metas, and there's going to be 4 primary weapons that players are only using. But in that itself, it also causes diversity. It causes 4 different weapons, when in reality, back in Ghost, everyone knows it was a vector party. 8 vectors on the map, when in reality now, you can only have at most 2. Or Karmas. Sorry, it's called Karmas now. So along with the weapon draft, you're also going to be having the rig draft as well. Combat rigs, in my opinion, I've talked about them in one of my previous videos, which is only gameplay. Specialists that they had in Black Ops 3, Infinity Ward looked at those and said, how can we improve those? How can we make those specialists, the issues that they have, better? When in reality, that's not what you really want to do. You want to take the idea of the specialist itself and realize what are the positives, what are the negatives, and realize that the negatives itself are what make it, in some ways, balanced. It almost made some of the specials balanced. I saw Rewind, which is essentially Glitch from Black Ops 3. Glitch was great in some ways, right? Because, honestly, who really likes Specialist? I understand that, right? But the great thing about Glitch was that whenever you used it, you didn't know where you were going to pop up at. And that little flash on your screen kind of disoriented you for a second to where you were like, where am I? Okay, I'm here. Let me try to focus on where I was. In this game, it literally rewinds you back so you can see absolutely everything. That's just one instance to me where I looked at it and they're trying to improve on it, but it doesn't really need improving because the whole fact of Glitch was that it was so random that it's a kind of a risk to choose, but if you do it correctly, then it is a useful thing. Last thing, and I'm going to go and close this video out, Codcaster to me looked really, really good. Little small improvements that not many people may have noticed if they're not casting, if they don't use the Codcaster that often. Minimap size was much bigger, which I'm personally a big fan of. They did have the numbers there from Black Ops 3. It's not really that big of a deal in my opinion. They have the callouts for obviously below the map, which I think is great. I hope that they're going to tend to the Call of Duty commentators as well as the players themselves and maybe change those based on what the callouts that they develop. There were some callouts that were just very, very long that didn't need to be that long, and players are not going to be using some of those callouts because of how long they are. There's going to be a lot that they do use, but there's going to be some where it's like, parking garage. Why don't I just call that garage? Why don't I call that park? There's like a little, kind of like an alert system at the top. When it goes, it shows essentially who planted the bomb, where the bomb was planted at, who's on the hard point, who rotated. The hard point's getting ready to come up in a few seconds at this particular location. It's the little things I think that were added to the Codcaster that made it actually a lot better, which I'm very, very happy about. Along with that, something that I did notice that did come up was the hard point kind of lit up. If you looked at some of the rotations that they were going to, I believe they played throwback. It might have been inside a barn. I'm just calling it barn. I don't even know if that's to call it or not. But in one of the hard point locations, which I'm going to deem barn, the floor actually lit up with whatever team color was in there at the time, which I think is really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's kind of a cool little aspect that they're adding into the game. It kind of helps viewership. It kind of helps like you get a little bit of an idea like what's going on. Instead of kills being traded back and forth, you can kind of even look at the floor a little bit and get a little bit of an idea. I did not see free cam. If Infinity Ward is watching this, free cam. Please, just for me. That's all I've ever wanted. Just free cam. That's all I want. That's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you guys did enjoy, of course, make sure to leave a like. And also, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anything that I talked about. I know I talked about a lot of stuff. Let me know what you guys thought about this entire reveal in the comments below. If you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to do so already. And I promise I'm going to be making more consistent videos as time does go on. I've been very busy recently trying to get some things done. And whatnot. You guys are going to be really excited for some of the stuff that does get released here soon. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Yet again, I will see you guys all later. Have a fantastic day. And until next time, peace out.